Hey guys, welcome to another New World video. So guys, it's that time again, the time when we get our monthly devblog update video, so I thought we could talk about some of the stuff they covered in it and how I think it will affect the game, the future, and basically just get an idea of where things are going. So let's just get into it. So as expected, they started the video with the biggest thing, of course the 3v3 arena. I have made multiple videos talking about this on the PTR, as have many other content creators, so I won't go into this too much. I will say though, in case you didn't know, you can queue for the 3v3 arena alone, or with a single friend, and of course with a group of 3. You can also queue below level 60, which is big because so many have complained that you can't enjoy PvP because OPR and stuff like that have a level 60 requirement. When you queue, the system will place you in a level range much like World of Warcraft does, so you should be always matched up against players of similar level. The devs were especially proud of the arena announcer, which will call all of the fights as they progress, which I will say is a very fun and surprisingly exciting feature. It was one of my favorite parts of playing Hotball in SWTOR, so it is great to see it introduced here. Then they moved on to discussing the PvP reward track, which they segued into from the 3v3 arena of course, saying that the 3v3 arena would be the primary way to progress in this track, although you could do it also by doing any of the PvP activities in the game. This is not exactly true. 3v3 arena likely will be the most fun and engaging way to progress in this track. That is for sure. But it is not the most efficient, nor is it the fastest. The absolute fastest way will be of course by spamming the good old boring PvP missions. They need to bump up the PvP experience rewards for 3v3 to make it come anywhere even close to compete with the faction missions. The PvP track, as I've shown in many of my videos, is amazing though. They are right about that. Offering, as they say, consumables, unique weapons, armors, and new PvP perk items. The only thing here that I have issue with, and believe they need to make changes to, and make them now, is to the perk PvP reward items. As you can see here, they come from the PvP reward track potion packs, and are themed to be like snake oils and concoctions you can use to make your gear more powerful. I personally love this. What I don't love is that upon getting one of these you will notice it is bound on acquire. Many of the people that will be playing belong to companies with designated crafters, or want to sell them, or have never trained the trade skills required to use them. I think these would be much better and serve the community better if they were tradable. Maybe I'm way off here, but having them bind on pickup I think is a big mistake. Anyway, just my thoughts on that part of the blog. Next, they moved into discussing the mutators, most notably the one that they have added in this PTR session, the depths. I personally love this for the same reason they describe they do. Taking the old, low-level, and mid-level dungeons and making them endgame is so fun. Often, the mid-game dungeons have some of the most interesting fights, and to experience that challenge at level 60 is great. And as they say, the stats indicate that more players have been killed by Thor than any other NPC in the game, so having him now go to M10 will definitely be interesting. They also introduced the 3 new mutators that are being released to the game alongside this new mutation. These are, of course, Overgrown, which is a nature damage themed mutator, which spawns toxic pools that will follow players to kill them. Compost, which turns trash into healing for allies. And Barbaric. This mutator focuses on the physical damage scale, and is targeted to be a tank killer, giving NPCs Enrage and Shattering, which will make things very difficult for tanks balancing damage absorption and stamina. And finally, a new curse, Fiendish, which is of course necro themed, focusing on Weary and Weaken, making your group very vulnerable to weaken, slow, and damage over time effects. These are definitely interesting, and will create a lot of new playstyles when they hit live and we have to deal with them in combination with what's already in live. The next part of the blog was focused on the Varangian Knights. They mention that they are of course continuing the story and in turn seeing the NPCs spreading throughout Eternum. They are seeking new and more powerful sources of power, and their story is going to continue to grow and become more important. This is awesome, in a way. In another way, it disappoints me. I recently made an alt and tried out these stories, and yes, they're great. They are so much better than the fetch crap we had at launch. My issue is that they began to add it so much after the game released, and started at level 20, and are working their way to 60 with the story. Don't get me wrong, I do love this, but I just wish I could have experienced it my first time around. But I may, after the story has made its way into the 50s, re-roll again and play through to get the full story and the experience of actually leveling with it. I will say, however, if you happen to have quit in your 30s, I recommend definitely considering coming back. Maybe not to stay, but if only briefly to run this story. It is truly good, and hell, there is no sub, so why not? Experience it, then leave again till they add more if you please, but it is worth the playthrough. The next thing they touched on was the paid transfer tokens and the success surrounding them. They said that since adding them, they have seen tens of thousands of transfers. This is great, but what it makes me wonder is how many of those tens of thousands were people exploiting the markets and shifting resources from server to server to milk profit. Well, I suppose. They chose to only have a short CD, so what can you do? They also discussed the devs versus creators event on Twitch, which for the most part is over now. However, there is one more scheduled for May the 26th, so be sure not to miss that. There is a Twitch drop remaining that day for a PvP reward chest, so just a reminder to be there for that. Now to one of the topics that has been a buzz throughout the community, the XP Extravaganza Event, or whatever they're choosing to call it. There were many theories and arguments about what this was going to be exactly, and now they have given us direct information. Because there is no update planned for June, they wanted to keep up momentum by holding a huge month-long event. In this event, players will get 2 times experience while gathering, refining, and leveling weapons. And yes, this does include fishing. However, no crafting. Another thing I wanted to point out here, I have seen some information from a reliable source, which was a conversation between a content creator and a member of the AGS team. I won't say this is confirmed as I can't share the exact screen grab of the conversation, but I will say it looks like this XP will not apply to aptitude. You won't gain aptitude levels at 2 times the rate. So if you're a 200 in a skill, you're out of luck. This might change between now and then, however. I just wanted to give you a heads up though, just in case you were planning on it. To close out the information part of the dev blog, they thought it would be fun to share the best confirmed times for M10s, and I agree with this. It is cool to hear how fast people are clearing them at the highest levels, and in turn to gauge how well our groups are doing in comparison. So these times were, for Tempest, the best time is 27 minutes and 12 seconds. For Dynasty, it's 21 minutes and 48 seconds. For Genesis, 13 minutes and 1 second. And for Lazarus, 25 minutes. However, they have a report of 19 minutes, they said, but it is still requiring authentication. So yeah, it seems people are really getting the hang of these M10s now, because those numbers are crazy fast, much faster than I've ever run them. And finally, like always, they closed out the video with the player question and answer segment, which is where we usually get the best information. So a few things that they mentioned in this section that I felt were important were, they mentioned that they had learned a few things about events from the feedback about the Rabbit event and the rarity of the chest. And in future, they will be a lot more specific about how things work, how you can succeed, and make the events more clear and doable, which is awesome because I've seen so much rage over that Rabbit chest. They also addressed crafting. Well, sort of. They agree it is not great and far too expensive. However, they won't make any changes to it right now. They are working on it though, and changes will come, they said. They just do not want to knee-jerk change anything and destroy what's left of our fragile economy. Which makes sense. So guys, that's the broad strokes. If you would like to watch the whole dev blog in its entirety, I have linked it in the description. Overall, I am pretty excited with where the game is going. I know people will say it's copium, but it truly isn't. I know it is not in a great place right now, player numbers are abysmal, but the 3v3 arena, the PvP reward track, and the addition of a ton of new metal veins, these things address a huge chunk of the complaints I've seen. And I do hope people take the time to log in and give these features a try. I mean, you already bought the game, it won't cost you anything. And as always guys, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.